Wings is so incredibly proud to be supporting the Women-Led Games Showcase in celebration of International Women's Day. There are so many incredibly talented women behind the games that players know and love, and it is so amazing to see them being featured here today. One of our main focuses at Wings is to make sure that the diverse games of tomorrow are being funded today. And we do this specifically by funding the exciting projects being made by women and gender diverse studios. Through both financial and industry support, we aim to help these studios become sustainable so that they can continue making diverse, incredible games that cater to a wider audience of players. Today, we're celebrating International Women's Day, but we're also celebrating the return of the Wings Women's Day sale on Steam, which is happening right now and going on until March 10th, so be sure to check that out. I can't wait to see what else this showcase has in store, but before we carry on, I just want to take this opportunity to shine a light on some of the incredible upcoming and recently released games made by Wings-funded and women-led studios. Let's take a look. Welcome to Grimoire Groves, a cozy, roguelike dungeon crawler that will transport you to a world of wonder and excitement. In this game, you'll play as a young witch who grows cute plant creatures and discovers the secrets of the Grimoire Groves, a forest inhabited by mythical creatures and powerful spirits. The release date is yet to be announced, but you can play a demo on Steam right now. Embrace your inner monster in Sigh of the Abyss, a dark fantasy visual novel. Born from a bloody ritual, you, the protagonist, must navigate a world torn by corruption. Choose and develop your supernatural gifts, explore love interests, and shape the destiny of a nation in this rich narrative experience. Coming to PC this summer. Birth is an adventure puzzle game about constructing a creature from spare bones and organs found around the city in order to quell your loneliness. Solve physics-based puzzles and discover secrets in lovingly hand-drawn museums, bakeries, bookstores, and more. Birth is out on PC and Xbox and has recently been released on Nintendo Switch. Atlas Wept is a retro-style, pixel art RPG that mixes turn-based combat with bullet hell actions and tells a humanist story about sincerity and empathy, featuring friendly robot dogs and evil smiley faces. Now out on PC.
We will make you happy.
Thank you so much to everybody who's watching for supporting the incredible women who make the games that we love to play. Be sure to check out the Wings Women's Day sale event page for even more stellar recommendations, and don't forget that a wishlist and a follow is a fantastic way to support a game before it's launched.
So tell me a little bit about Sunnyside.
So Sunnyside it's kind of our love letter to the farm sim genre, is I think the best way to put it. We try to look at what other farm games do and what just other games do, other RPGs, other cozy games, other, we even looked at some of the hardcore roguelikes and looked at, okay, what are systems that people connect to? What are story types people connect to? And how can we put that together into a game that we would want to play? And that is going to target audiences that maybe aren't targeted all the time without alienating anybody. So we kind of just tell people we started out as a JRPG farm sim. We've kind of changed that. So now it's just a farm life sim with heavy emphasis on storytelling, empathetic storytelling specifically.
I love my favorite games are ones that don't stick to a genre. I feel like you get so many cool things happen when you combine them together. I am a lover of all things story, but also a lover of farming sims. So what kind of does this story involve?
Well, so the one thing we didn't want to do is we didn't want to just make a game and then just kind of shove farming into it, because it can feel weird to the player. Like, oh, I'm running around and like doing this real story and you want me to grow carrots. It's kind of, it can be a little disorienting. So we wanted to make sure that the two went really well together. So we had to break down, what kind of story do we want to tell? What's our theme? What do we want people to feel when they're playing Sunnyside? And so the main thing we went with is empathy and harmony. So we decided early on that we wanted to have a bit of a battle system. But then it was, well, how do we do battle and make it feel cozy and not have it be stressful for the cozy player, right? And then we also wanted to make sure that we were talking to as many people as we could without making any other people feel like they were being alienated somehow. So, and that kind of comes from a more reverse perspective. So we're targeting women with our game, with a lot of our storytelling, but we didn't want men to feel alienated. It was something that we got a lot in play tests of people saying, you know, we want a farm game that's cozy, but that doesn't have that like childlike feel.
Yes, yeah.
So that was more, we wanted to be approachable to adults. So that was kind of what we were going for. It's really aimed at the kid who played, you know, those older games, those original farm games. But now we're all older, and so we want something that we can relate to. So that was kind of what our aim was with the story.
So obviously, from what I'm getting, is inclusion is a big part, and I even came prepared today.
Yes.
So as a queer person myself, how has inclusion and, for example, I think farming sims in the whole of history have been the pioneers of inclusion on most consoles, especially including the Switch. So is that something, is this a big part of how you live your life in Sunnyside?
Yes and no. I didn't ever want it to be in your face. I feel like a lot of the when you go for full inclusion, it can be so loud that other people might get upset, which is an unfortunate dichotomy of our society, right? So we wanted it to be something that was inclusive enough that people felt welcomed, no matter who you are. And there is no one thing that kind of pushes anybody into or away from any other thing. So, for example, a lot of previous farm games make player sexual characters, right? Anybody can romance anybody. But for us, it became very important to make that statement of, no, we want gay and lesbian characters. We want that specific type of person, because if we're trying to be a voice for those people, then we need to be the voice and give them that voice and not have it just be another coming out story, because there's a ton of those, right? You can't throw a stone in media without finding another coming out story. Everybody has one and it's relatable, but that's not the only part of your personality, right? There's more to a person than just their sexuality. So that's what we wanted to amplify. So what it became about was not so much, here's a gay person, have fun playing with this character. It was, here's a person who loves martial arts. Oh, by the way, they're also gay. So that kind of became the goal for a lot of our storytelling, was how do we do it without pandering to an audience while also making everybody feel like they've been heard and included and accepted.
So more of a life sim than a dating sim.
1,000%. Yes. Yes. And specifically, we decided to not be a marriage sim either. So we went more with the persona route with this, in terms of it's not about getting married and having a family and having kids. It's about finding somebody you can connect to and building that relationship. That's what our stories are all about. So it's not, there's no like end goal. You know, you're not like trying to get married and like build a family, because I know other farm games have done that and it's become something that people want. But we decided
goal in life either.
That's kind of what it was. It was like, I look at myself, you know, I've been in a 7-year relationship and we're not married. You know, and I think it's becoming more common for people in my age group. You know, I'm in my 30s, and it's not unheard of. Whereas, you know, 20 years ago, that was a little weird. So that's, in that sense, we are definitely trying to modernize the genre as much as we can. So it's become a bit of our tagline that we're modernizing the farming sim, but it's not just adding technology. It's
I was going to say, I saw that in the Steam, that was a big thing.
It's looking at everything from a more modern perspective. Sexuality, dating, romantic relationships, friendships was actually a big one for us. I was very concerned about making friendships that were just friendships.
Yes.
There's no undercurrent of any kind of romantic anything. The whole point of the story is these people are friends and nothing else, and that's totally okay. And we want that.
2024 is the year of the platonic soulmate. That's what I've been saying.
I love it. That's great. I like that.
I want to find my person that is my person, but like as a friend, you know?
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think we need to normalize that. So for our game, for the kind of themes that we were going to, the main theme, you know, harmony and empathy, but there are a lot of other smaller themes happening. So, you know, we wanted to tackle toxic masculinity is something I really wanted to go after. I wanted to go after the idea of like the strong black woman, because strong black women are soft too. Let's talk about that. So there are a lot of things that I just kind of wanted to like, well, I've seen stories that talk about this, but I've never seen anything that talks about this. What if we look at that? There's a really big theme about overbearing parents, or just bad parenting in general, kind of comes up a lot. There's a couple stories about pushing yourself to kind of do better in your life. And then there's other stories about not pushing yourself too hard. So for every one story that we did, there's kind of another one that balances it out to show the other perspective.
I love that. So from the trailers and everything, what made it looks like it's set in Japan. So what made you pick Japan for the setting, other than the fact that it is absolutely stunning? I think it is beautiful. The advantages of the type of art style you've gone for as well is that you've managed to portray Japan in all of its beauty.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you. Because it wasn't me. If I could go back, I probably wouldn't choose Japan again. It wasn't my choice. I came into the production a little bit later. So there were some things that were already established. The setting was already established. The basic kind of story was already established. A couple of the characters were already set. And then I had to come in and make it work. So in terms of Japan, we stuck with it because Japan's beautiful. But the more that I was researching everything, because for me, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right across the board. So that's for the story, that's the setting, that's everything. And so if we're going to do it in Japan, it needs to not only be respectful of Japan and the culture, but it also needs to make sure, again, we're not pandering. That was something that's always a big concern for me. I don't want to fetishize, you know, and I want to be realistic and honest as much as I could. So for me, that meant a lot of research. There's tons and tons. I'm still researching every single day. I'm watching a day in the life of a Japanese tea maker and, you know, a day in the life of a Wagyu farmer. And there's another guy on YouTube that I follow. He just films himself walking through areas of Japan. It's just quiet and it's just him. There was a lot of like flying around on Google Earth and checking out architecture and how do they lay out their streets and what does the environment feel like in the atmosphere. And so what it came down to, it wasn't really a decision. It just kind of happened. But I mean, it's beautiful. We were able to create some really gorgeous, lush environments because it's set in Japan, which has more of a jungle type atmosphere. And we actually did a really cool thing where the actual time of day, the sun location in the game is realistic to the time of day for that season in Japan.
I love that.
So we picked an actual place in Hokkaido in northern Japan. And so if it's, you know, early spring, it's still kind of end of winter, January-ish. It's going to be dark at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But then when you get into the summer, it doesn't get dark until like 7. So we were able to set up, not we, it was my programmer. He did a great job. But long story short, my main goal was to be as faithful and respectful as possible with setting a game in a place that none of us have been. We have one person on our team who speaks Japanese and who lived in Japan for, I think, a year. And the rest of us were just making it up as we went. And hopefully nobody gets mad.
So you might not know that farming sims and RPGs are actually 2 of my favorite genres. If you watch anything where I talk about my favorite games, it's like farming sims, life sims, RPGs of all sorts, all kind of together. So what made you decide to take 2 pretty iconic franchises almost and put them together as one, especially a JRPG?
Yeah, well, the reason is because our programmer, who I talk about a lot, his name's Rainy. He's, the Rainy of Rainy Games. He loves Persona.
Same.
Huge Persona fan. And when he set out originally to do the game, he wanted to make Persona with farming.
When I saw the art style, like the whole style, I was like, I'm playing Persona 3 at the moment, and I was like, I see it, I see it.
That was his dream. So it was then my responsibility of, okay, how do we actually make this happen? So we joke a lot that he's the Walt Disney and I'm the Roy Disney. He has the crazy ideas, but it's my job to actually like get them paid for and make it work. So that was his crazy idea. And then it was, all right, how do we bring it all together? So but I didn't want it to just be, okay, here's a Persona game with like random farming mechanics, right? That doesn't really make sense. So we then had to use the narrative to kind of weave the 2 together. So the JRPG part actually took a bit more of a backseat because it can. And we focused the whole game on, you've just moved to this small town. You bought this plot of land. You didn't inherit it. And what are you going to do now? So we kind of put ourselves in that actual situation of, what would you do? What do you have to do to set up an actual homestead in the middle of nowhere? And the first thing that you're going to have to lean on is your community. So it was then, okay, how do we build the community? And then how do we make this JRPG story a part of that story of building up that community? So that they all kind of got woven together.
So I feel like I'm the weird farming sim player in that I don't tend to go, romance isn't something I like particularly go after. So can you still get everything you want out of a character without the romance aspect to it? Could you still like find out all about their story?
To a point, because I wanted there to be something rewarding for romancing them. So you will get their whole story. If you decide to also date them, you're going to get more of that story. Or you might get a little bit of an extra side story. So everybody's kind of broken up into 2 different point systems, I guess is the best way to say it. 2 different metrics that we're tracking is your friendship and then also your romance. They're completely separate from each other. You can't romance some people until you've befriended them. Some people you can romance right away. It's just kind of dependent on their personality and what they want. So you can definitely just befriend people, and there will never be an occasion where you don't know that you're romancing somebody. We've both Rainy and I have had games that we've played where suddenly we're dating somebody. We didn't know that was happening, and it's like, what's going on? So there are very clear instructions that will pop up that tell you you're about to enter a relationship. Are you sure about this? Here's the consequences if it doesn't work out. And it's a completely optional aspect. So what we want people to do is kind of play one playthrough where they befriend everybody and then maybe romance one person. And then if you want to romance others, do other saves where you're chasing other romances.
Like real life, instead of
because
just
the person's
divorcing everyone and then going after someone else.
Actually, yeah. So there's so every romance system has 5 scenes that you can get, the 5 romantic scenes. At some point in those 5, you're going to have a lock-in moment where you have to determine, yes, this is a serious relationship. I'm not dating anybody else. Once you lock that person in, that's it. You break up with everybody else. There's no more romancing. And from that point, depending on the person, you'll get 2 or 3 more scenes that you can only get if you've locked that one in. So you can get most of the game with one playthrough. You'd need at least 2 or 3 because we have our gender and sexuality system. So you got to play it a couple times if you want to get all of the content.
I like that though. I feel like this is the important question that a lot of people ask. Are there cute animals?
Yes. Of course. We didn't go with the chibi style. We tried to go with a more realistic looking animal. For all of our art, we went anime. So we looked at anime examples and then okay, how can we pull that in? So we concepted the animals as anime animals first, and then we had the really hard task of trying to translate those into models. Had a great team doing it, so good job, guys. But yeah, so I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a lot. We kind of broke them down into, there are milking animals, there are egg animals, and then there are fur animals. And then for each kind of category, there's like a couple different types of animal. So you've got your milk animals, which would be like cows, goats, and sheep. And then within each of those categories, there's 3 varieties. So you have like 3 different types of cows,
That's
3 different types of goats, 3 different types of sheep. It's a lot. And then each one gives you different qualities too. So, a Jersey cow is going to give you a different quality of milk than a Holstein cow, for example. So we're kind of encouraging everybody to get one of everything. Try it out, see what happens. But if you want to specialize and just be a wool farmer and have a farm full of alpaca, go for it. I'm not going to stop you.
Is there any advice you'd give to like aspiring female game devs who are looking to get into it or just starting their journey at this point?
Oh my gosh. How much time do we have? So much advice. Trust yourself. Don't listen to the people who are talking over you, because it's going to happen all the time. And if they are talking over you, it's not always out of maliciousness. So you have to have patience and understanding, and don't let the anger get to you. So, there's a lot of stuff that can get in your way if you let it. And you have to make the conscious decision every day of, this is hard. I don't love it all the time, but I'm here for a reason because I'm supposed to be. And network like crazy. You'd be amazed how much people are willing to do for you if you're kind and considerate and you listen and you're there when they need you. People will help you out all the time, not just the women. Game development is such a tight-knit group that people are always willing to lend a hand. You just have to ask, really. And if somebody's mean to you, brush it off and go ask somebody else. There's always somebody around the corner to lend a helping hand. Sunnyside's coming out soon. We don't have an official release date yet, but hopefully soon. And we're going to be announcing the consoles soon, too. So that'll either be out by the time of the showcase or around the time. I'm not really sure, but coming to places soon.
Sunnyside is a farming life sim that takes place in the Japanese countryside. We've got all the basics: growing plants, raising animals, catching fish, finding bugs. But what sets Sunnyside apart isn't just the incredible farming mechanics, killer music, or even the laid-back turn-based combat. No, what really makes Sunnyside the next chapter in the farm sim genre is the story. With an all-female writing and 2D art team, we set out to create characters and stories that everyone could relate to, and that turn the common tropes and archetypes on their heads. Our goal for the whole game has been to subvert expectations and give you, the player, an experience that would not only stick with you long after playing, but that might, hopefully, change the way you see and interact with the real world around you. We believe that people are inherently complicated, and every person deserves to have their story be heard. For this reason, Sunnyside has 29 unique character stories to explore. Some will be sad, some enlightening, and some may surprise you. But it's our sincere hope that Rainy Games' brand of empathetic storytelling will stay with you long after you finish the game. See you in Sunnyside.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another panel at the Women-Led Games Showcase. I am your host, Lauren, for this amazing interview, developer interview with Flo Burchell, who is from SnapFingerClick. Flo, tell us a bit about what your role is at SnapFingerClick.
Hi, so I am the assistant producer at SnapFingerClick. I've worked here since 2020, so coming on 4 years. We're a very small indie company, so my roles range over a lot of things, which I love. That's why I love my job so much. Every day is different. I run all the social media, so I make a lot of content, filming lots of videos, but then I also help with the writing content for the game, coming up with questions, researching, creating characters for one of our games that's been announced but hasn't been released yet. I wrote the theme song.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Joe, one of my co-workers. So we do lots of different things, wear lots of different hats, lots of liaising between publishers, contacting, doing marketing. It's a lot, but it's always really enjoyable.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's so fun about being a part of such a smaller team is that thing of being able to try all these different things out, and producing is such a cool role. It just sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And the social media stuff
it's
is
weird.
Amazing. I love your little TikToks.
When people thank you. When people say what does producer mean? I'm like, everything.
It's everything.
It's really everything.
Yeah. It's we're making sure that things are happening and that they release on time. That's good.
Yeah, we are producing it all for you. That's the end.
That is the end. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about this game a bit because, I'm already a big fan, particularly of Joe, because she worked on one of my favorite party games ever, which is Buzz, which was back on the PlayStation 3. But at the moment, we have Awkward 2, and Awkward at its core is a party game that focuses around players answering really awkward questions. Who'd have thunk? But it's it's that sort of Jackbox times 100. Why do you sort of feel like this concept really speaks to people compared to other trivia games that are currently in the marketplace?
We think especially at the moment, we've noticed that there's a big push for adult card games, so Cards Against Humanity, What Do You Mean, that kind of things. Those are huge and everyone knows about it, everyone plays it, but there isn't really a video game version of that. There's a big gap in the market for, and video games, turning card games or board game kind of things into video games is something that we like to do, and it's something that's really popular at the moment as well. And so we've just been working on making a game that's got the similar vibes, where you, rather than answering knowledgeable general knowledge questions, a lot of Awkward 2 isn't what you know, it's what you feel, and it's opinion based, and so there's not necessarily right or wrong answers, but although when you discuss with your friends you'll probably find that there'll people will disagree with you. But it's a really nice, and I think there's been a movement as well with games where you are talking and debating and discussing. It's kind of a new game mechanic that isn't seen so much in video games, but it's something that we've been focusing on and is really popular from what we've seen.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really fun. I mean, that's kind of the thing that that's so interesting about these uncomfortable questions, is that it's just, you'll never think about these questions that you're being asked to answer. You'll never think of answering them yourself. But yeah, I mean, since the release of Awkward back in 2018, which is the first one, Snap Finger Click has obviously worked on like a few trivia-based games that are a bit more like on the conventional side. But this feels like it's really, and I've read before that this is really like the true vision of what Awkward was going to be to start with, Awkward 2. So what do you feel has been learned with the development and marketing this time around? How has this been applied to Awkward 2?
So since 2018, we've released like a lot of different games, a lot of some with like Ubisoft, which is really good, working with a really professional publisher and having them sort of like, help us out and like lead us in the right direction. We've also focused a lot in previous years on making our games as accessible as possible. And so working along with like disabled gamers has meant that we can implement that in our future games. And just, I think, you always learn from practice. Practice makes perfect. And so we will release the game and then we will monitor one part of my many jobs is like reading through all of our reviews, positive and negative, noting them down so that when we make the next game, we can make sure we're making what people want to play, because that's the main thing of gaming. Yeah. And then also within years as well, lots of things have changed, especially with social media marketing, and that's especially the rise of TikTok has been really interesting in games. And I love TikTok so much as a marketing tool. One of the best ways that we get wish lists for our game is making TikTok videos, because we've had a few go like really, really viral, which has been amazing. And suddenly seeing a massive spike in followers and wish lists, that's incredible. But it takes a while. TikTok is really hard to understand and the algorithm changes every day. And so kind of learning, it's all trial and error. And so having previous games that we've been doing the social media for, sort of like, it always leads up to the moment that you're at, but we're still learning still, like it's really hard to pin down how it works.
I mean, some of the TikToks that you've come out with are just so silly, and it's great that you have like a cast of friends who can like really amp it up, particularly for a game like this that is so reliant on having someone else to share it with. What do you think, like, as far as marketing the game goes, like, you can't really spoil too much. You don't want to like spoil too much of the game, but then you want to show some of the questions. Like, how do you sort of toe that line of like marketing these like really crazy questions, but in a way that's not going to spoil all of them for potential players?
Yeah, that's a good question. Luckily, we have the questions in Awkward 2. We have over 10,000 of them. So the chances of you seeing ones in the I think you probably won't even see the ones in the advert like for a while once you're playing it, because 10,000 is a lot. And we just sort of use the ones, because the other thing is Awkward 2 is like really awkward. And so we don't want to scare people off with like how intense some of the questions are.
Yeah,
but then
true.
One of the biggest bits of feedback we got for the first Awkward was like, it's not awkward enough. So we were like, okay, try this.
Yeah.
And so it's when I'm making videos and when we're including screenshots, it's like we really cater for like which questions will be like not scare people off, but then also not be seen as too tame. It's a really difficult sort of like line to get to. But there's also the other thing with the 10,000 questions. Even if you did come across ones in a game and then come across them again, the chances are you won't be the one answering it. So the answer can be completely different again. The demo that you can play at the moment, we've got a demo out at the moment, that's got, I think it's only like 60 questions of the 10,000. And you can play that for hours, because as long as you've got like more than two people playing, even with two people playing, you'll be taking turns answering questions. So my answer will be completely different to your answer. And so it's got hours of play in it.
No, that's so amazing. But yeah, I mean, with that in mind, do you have a sort of like favorite type of awkward question?
I think I like the ones, so not necessarily for me to answer, but like I love a 50-50. There are so many questions that people are so split on, and even silly things that I think in the original Awkward, the one that we always had 50-50 was pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like it's always
How
been
is that
50-50.
always the
People,
split one?
people like and even with like when I talk about it to my housemates when we have like pizza parties, and people feel so strongly about
They
it.
really
and
do.
So I love those. Yeah, I love those questions because it's like 50-50. It always causes a huge debate, like massive like discussion, often arguments. And then it's my personal questions that I like to answer, the ones that like surprise people. I like to keep people on their toes and not be so predictable. So when I'm answering a question and people are shocked at the answer, I like that. But it's really interesting to see which questions people consider awkward. Some people are super open with talking about like their love life and their relationships. Other people like hate that. And then when we've been playing the demo with our community, it's really interesting how many people hate the questions that are about like personal hygiene.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Questions about like when's the last time you like wash your bedding, when's the last time you wash your towels, do you floss your teeth, do you clean out your ears, like those kinds of questions people like don't like because it's arguably more personal than like your love life.
Yeah.
And so that's been interesting to see people squirm from those sort of questions, which is something I didn't really think in my head. I thought, it's going to be like the X-rated questions are going to be the ones that people kind of turn away from. But no, it's often the ones about like personal hygiene.
Yeah, I think it's like the thing. There's so many different ways. It's so private. It's just something that you don't share regularly with people. But yeah, no, that is interesting, actually, the fact that is the thing that people are the most uncomfortable about. Oh, it makes me think about myself and it makes me give a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, but it's fine. But but no, I mean, it's so difficult with pineapple on pizza. I don't know. I'm indifferent. Where do you land on it? Because I'm indifferent about it.
Well, that's controversial to be indifferent. I think we rarely get that.
Really?
I'm strongly for.
Yeah.
Because I love savory with sweet. I think that's great. I'm a big fan of like crackers with cheese and like chutneys.
Yeah, it's true.
And so,
I like that too.
Like pizza with sweet, I think it works really well. But I do also completely understand. I've got a lot of Italian friends that are like, this is blasphemy. And I do understand that like when with a culture that's so rich and to do with like food, doing something that's quite original and I guess doesn't make sense to them, I get it, but I think it tastes great.
But it's also like, girl, I'm an Italian American and it was an appetizer before it was a main meal, so just go with the flow. Go with the flow. I mean, I just think if you like pineapple on pizza, just have it. Like, where do I have to come into it? I don't have to eat it if I don't want it, But yeah.
Exactly. That's a great stance to have.
I just want everybody to just be happy and fed. I think that is acceptable.
Good, yeah.
Just don't feed me things that I don't want. Like, that's fine. But yeah,
it's a good way to go.
Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, no, I really love awkward. I'm quite a big baby for like apples to apples back in the day. Like, that was my childhood game, and granted, like, things have definitely moved on from apples to apples with how they are now. But I really do adore what awkward brings to the table. Particularly with the aesthetic, with the style as well. Like, I love this idea of having this like kooky steampunk old man. His name is Kick, right? Just Wick being the host of Awkward. I just find it so cute and camp.
I've been loving doing I was like working in the office when when our 3D designer Amanda was making all the stuff, and I love each round is a different stage, and so each stage looks completely different, and it's gorgeous, and it's been amazing seeing it come to life. I think this is the first time that I've worked on like a 3D game from beginner scratch. So watching that development has been like so interesting to see.
Yeah, I can really appreciate like how much work actually goes into making things look the way that they need to look when they need to look polished. Like, it's a lot. But that's amazing. And I really love hearing about your team as well, because it just feels like a really great space. You have a great great leader in Joe and everybody else. And it just has all the makings of just a wonderful studio. So
it's really, I love it a lot. And it's especially, this is like a women-led games. We're 50% women as well, especially 50% in programming, which is quite rare in this industry. And so it's always, there's a reason why this is my first job in the gaming industry, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah. No, it's really, 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 really setting the bar for the rest of the industry, definitely. So with that in mind, though, where can we find more information on Awkward 2?
So the Steam page is up. So it's called Awkward 2, the party game of Savage Secrets. You can already download the demo. So like I said, it's like a shorter version, but still got hours of play in it. Check us out on all of our social medias at SnapFingerClick, and we update with releases, sales, just general things going on. Very active on TikTok. So you can check out the videos that I've been making that are interesting.
You need to follow the TikTok, everybody. You need to follow the TikTok. Like, I'm just wondering, was the swing broken before you sat on it? Or was it?
It was.
It was.
Yeah, so it was. But I don't know, with that TikTok, because a lot of my TikToks just sat in front of the camera talking.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want to do something I think the first shot that I filmed was a joke. I think I just was like, I think I said to my housemate, can you hold the phone? I'm going to talk. And then I think he started to run away. So I was like,
I'm going to run with
to
you.
The camera. And then I was like, yeah, exactly. And then I was like, oh, actually, this could be kind of funny because it's just different. We got a lot of good feedback on like all of our other platforms we posted that on as well, which was nice. But then again, it's like a weird one where it didn't like blow up on TikTok, but you never know what will. It'll be like a really small video. In fact, one of the videos that we got the most views on TikTok got like 5.6 million views or something ridiculous. And it's another one of those 50-50. It's, would you rather have 10 children? Was it 10 dogs or 10 children?
Oh gosh.
And it was like me interviewing a random woman in the street that I'd gone up to and interviewed. And she was like, absolutely 10 gods.
10 dogs.
10 gods.
Yeah, 10 gods.
10 dogs. And that just went crazy, I think, because everyone was in the comments like, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. And that's just like, that's one of the best things about Awkward. It's sort of creating, and again, a question that you've probably never been asked about or never thought, would I rather have 10 children or 10 dogs?
Yeah.
But people have all these strong opinions to questions they've never thought of before, and that's what makes it fun.
Forces the conversation, forces us to connect on a level that we never knew that we needed to connect on.
Exactly.
Oh, that's amazing. But yes, no, thank you so much, Flo. It's been so amazing to learn more about Awkward 2 and Snap Finger Click, and I'm so excited for when this game officially launches.
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Order the usual party game. Let me introduce Awkward 2, the most savage and hilarious party game. Answer delightfully offensive questions in secret. Your friends guess your answer, and whoever knows you best is a massive featuring thousands of scandalous questions that will test friendships, relationships, and morals. Use your smartphone as a controller. Perfect for those fiendishly intimate game nights and colossal parties. Awkward 2, the most savage and hilarious party game. Now, where is our host, Wick? Always a pleasure.
I was alone and so unsteady. more, 'cause even if the rain keeps falling harder, harder, we'll both find a way to make it farther, farther, out into the great unknown, sowing seeds we've never sown, and sooner than we know, we'll watch this garden grow. We'll watch this garden grow.
The storm's on the rise, but we'll hold together, learning as we try, and it's getting better. All the times we worked it out, even through the longest drought, reminds me still how sweet this life can be.
And so much more, 'cause even if the rain keeps falling harder, harder, we'll both find a way to make it farther, farther, out into the great unknown, sowing seeds we've never sown, and sooner than we know, we'll watch this garden grow.
Going on and on the vine, rain or shine,
We'll watch this garden grow.
going on and on the vine, rain or shine, we'll watch this garden grow.
Even if the rain keeps falling harder, harder, we'll both find a way to make it farther, farther. Looking back on what we've sown, we turn this love into a home with deeper roots than we could even know. We watch this garden grow. And if the rain keeps falling harder, we watch this garden grow. Find a way to make it farther, and watch this garden growing on and on the vine, rain or shine. We watch this garden growing on and on the vine, rain or shine. We'll watch this garden grow.
Shout out to our community partner GamesBeat for their support and their offer for all women in gaming to attend their GamesBeat Summit on May 20th. Scan the QR code to receive a complimentary pass now.
So I'm the studio head of Newall now, and we are a studio which was kind of in the UK, but now we actually don't live in the UK, but and we've been going for as a proper studio for 7 years, and in existence before that as well. Made games back 10 years, and we are probably most well known for doing Reigns, which is the swipey kingdom management game, which originally came out in 2016. And then we also made a game called Card Shark in a couple of years ago. So this is Reigns Beyond, which was the fourth. It's the fourth game in the Reigns series, and this was made during COVID. I remember it well. And basically, instead of ruling a kingdom, you are a captain of a spaceship, and you're traveling around space. And as a twist, you're also the lead singer in a rock band. So it's like a musical Reigns. So they got some nice musical mini games. We got a nice soundtrack by Sam Webster, and it was really fun to write. And I did get to write on it. This is the last thing I wrote on before I got all took over running the studio. So it was a really nice thing. And it's a bit wacky. It's a bit of a very weird game. So with a lot of engaging characters.
So am I right in thinking it's one of those, it's like a story where you kind of get to decide which way the story goes by making it's almost like yes or no decisions.
Yeah. With a Tinder swipe. So yeah, you're deciding your the story and doing your mini games just by swiping left and right. So in the style of the other games, and this one's just got a little bit more adventure about it, and the musical aspect as well, which is not in the other games. So this is a bit of a special one, and I think it's the funniest Reigns that we've ever written, and that's not just because I wrote it.
I love really some quirky humor in the stories. So is there like set different endings? Is there almost unlimited endings? Like how does the different paths of the story go?
Yeah, so there's various endings. There is one like a major one to complete, and then there's other endings depending on it's not infinite endings, but there are. Well, you could play forever if you wanted to, but we'll never get to any of the endings. But if you sort of follow certain and meet certain characters and make certain decisions, then you can unlock multiple different endings.
I love those,
which are listed on the achievements. I forget what they are because it was a few years ago now.
So you mentioned there's different Reigns games. Do we have to have played any of those games to enjoy this one?
No. The beauty of it is that they're all standalone stories, and they're so easy to get into because it's just a swipe, reading and swiping. If you can do those two things, you can play the game, and you do not need any previous knowledge.
Woo. I'm guessing, given the fact that I've seen the soundtrack listed, that the soundtrack is especially good for this one then?
Especially good, yeah. So the composer is Sam Webster, and he did the soundtrack for Grindstone as well, which is also an Apple Arcade, and also, I believe, now available on Steam. I'll plug someone else's game. And he did a great job. So music really, really good, and yeah, you can buy the soundtrack separately. So yeah, it's a really good one.
And you said this is coming to which platforms is this going to be releasing on then?
So it's going to be released on Steam and Switch at some point in the near future. I believe the official line is spring 2024, and we will stick with that.
See, I like these sorts of games because I can't find the time to read, but I find the time for these sort of narrative games on the Switch.
Yeah, and it's basically a bite-sized book. You should count it as reading.
It's my favourite genre.
Yeah,
things like this, Coffee Talk, Cosmic Wheel of Sisterhood, like those styles of you just read a story, but for some reason I can finish a game like this. I can't finish a book.
That's fine.
So
it's fine.
It kind of, it's like you're reading before bed, but you get it on a little screen instead.
Yes, exactly. It's basically, it's no different to reading a book, really. It's a worthy activity. You should, definitely include it. If you want to count how many books you're reading per year, you should also add in any narrative games you're playing.
I should do that. That might make me feel a bit better.
Yeah, and then you can I did 200. When people say I've read 200 books this year, and you're like, oh, well, I actually did 200 as well.
It's my little hack to try and get me to read more is games with more reading, which it's working.
Well, I think so. We've put a lot of effort into writing them, and I imagine the process is sort of quite similar to how a writer of books works. So why not?
What made you decide to step into this sort of role in life then?
Well, was it through choice? It was through choice. So it's because the original creator of Reigns is my husband. There's Francois Alliot, who does various talks and stuff on the topic sometimes. So he started, and we started together. And just over time, it just grew a little bit bigger than we were expecting. So just got to a point that I thought that actually maybe I should come into this. So eventually I did. It took quite a long time, but eventually I did sort of take over doing the company, and I felt there was something we could do with it and make it into a proper studio. So that's how I ended up doing it. So just a pure chance over many years of work.
Do you think the fact that you're a woman added something to the writing or something to the game development that maybe an all-male team would maybe not have?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Obviously have a different. I think because we worked with. Actually, we recognised that as a company very quickly. That Francois wrote the first reigns, and in the second reign we had Lee Alexander come and give us perspective from the Queen's point of view. So we were always very, very aware that men write in a certain way with a certain perspective. That a woman would definitely add something interesting and unique, and you cannot mimic that. You cannot have, a man writing as how a queen would be in a kingdom that the way Lee could. So we straight away were like, we're not the right people. Well, he wasn't the right person to write the next sequel to the game. And then by the time we got round to I worked with Francois on Reigns Game of Thrones and did lots of the female characters. And then we had Lee back to do Cersei, which is great. And then by the time we got to Reigns Beyond, kind of settled in, and I did add some different humor to the Reigns Beyond, and then I didn't actually get to do as much as I wanted because I ended up stopping working for 11 weeks because of COVID and had to look after our kids basically. So there's a nice woman problem as well. So once I didn't do as much as I wanted to do, but yeah, definitely. But we definitely, for the other games, previous games, Reigns Her Majesty and Reigns Game of Thrones, we were very, very conscious about getting the the correct person to write the correct characters, because I think you can't it's a bit crass to mimic, isn't it, when you can have somebody who really would do it very well. I think so. But I feel that like a whole approach has permeated the whole studio, that we have really good parity, gender parity. We track really interesting candidates because we have I think it looks, if you already employ different sorts of people, then you attract interesting candidates, and it just all like a self-fulfilling prophecy over time. But that's because we've approached it like that from the start, that we've always thought it was important, and we very much came into video games very naively and with just wanting to make something interesting, and so didn't have a lot of industry baggage. Basically, we came in completely fresh. This is how we're going to do stuff, and that's how we've done it.
I think that's what makes indie games always so unique, though. I think is the fact that you haven't got any of the previous stuff and you have to come in completely fresh.
Yeah, completely fresh, not knowing anything about anything. You don't know anybody. You don't know the scandals. You don't know basically anything about anything. And I think it's can be quite good. Innocence. I won't call it naivety. We were innocent when we started. Innocent, but with like 10-year career beforehand. So you've got some skill, but also coming into something fresh. It's quite nice, quite a unique thing.
Do you have any advice for any female devs who are, looking to get into this or thinking about it or anything like that?
I probably yes, I think it is quite a cutthroat industry. I think you need to have quite a thick skin, because there's all sorts of things that happen out of the control of out of everybody's control. Like there's all sorts of industry trends and various how do I say it, like things that happen that can be a bit very harsh. I think there's a lot of really good women and in the industry, and you need to try and seek them out. I would say my main topic in terms of women in games is retention. I think that's a really important thing, that it's really great to start in the industry, but to stay in it for a prolonged period of time is really, really, really hard. And you see very few women who are in senior positions as you go along. Yeah, because the burnout rate is so high, and for various reasons, women end up leaving, which is a real, real shame, because you never get to the level where you can make a really big difference to other people's lives. So it's worthwhile, and it's a really good industry, but there's a few there's some it's not all like sunshine and roses. There's some quite big systematic problems in the industry, but it doesn't mean it can't be a good career. So it's
wild how close that is to. So I did a PhD in chemistry, and everything you say about having the like people staying in is the exact issue that they're struggling with at Chem.
Yes, exactly. I did materials engineering as my first degree, so it was kind of a similar kind of industry again. So I've never worked in a female-dominated industry. It's always been against the odds and against as like one in 10 people are going to be, a woman basically, and that's been my whole career. So it's probably why I adapted the game so well, because I came from something that was completely male.
That's what I think has happened with me as well. I went from one male-dominated field straight into another one. Yeah,
but I think this I think probably sets you up better because chemistry, of course, and I don't know if you look at if you have LinkedIn or you look at people you went to university with and how few. If you had many women in your class, how many are actually still working in
I'm one of the ones who aren't, so yeah.
Yeah, so exactly the same, that over the years, basically, none of the 10 women who are on the course are actually working in it now, so for various reasons. So I think retention, especially this sort of point of my career now, of my age, is like, it sort of becomes a bit of a wasteland, really, and it's because of family pressure as well, of course, but I think there's just like, it's so stressful on top of that you end up, I think women end up quitting. I mean, I have belonged to a mum in games Discord. I just had a quick look at before I came on. There are people in the same position, but it's tough. Reigns Beyond is available soon on Nintendo Switch and Steam, and all the other Rain games are available in their other shops, including on the App Store, on Google Play, in Apple Arcade, on Netflix Mobile, and Steam and Switch. And that's probably everywhere.
Woo!
Hi, I'm Tamara Alio, and I'm the current studio head at Newall, and I had the pleasure of working on Reigns Beyond as a writer back in 2020. We've been making Reigns, the swipey kingdom management game, since 2016. 2017 saw the release of Reigns Her Majesty. Then we made Reigns Game of Thrones based on the TV show. Reigns Beyond, the fourth game in the series, was released in 2020 exclusively on Apple Arcade, but we're really excited to now launch it on PC and Switch. Reigns Beyond was a really fun project. Francois Alliot and I collaborated with Xavier Nelson Jr. on the writing, and we had a great time coming up with the story and alien characters. This Reigns is quite different to the others. This time you are the captain of a spaceship, and you and your crew and bandmates get to visit different planets. As you are a space band, there are musical mini-games to complete. Sam Webster did a great job on the music for this. It was a really fun and weird addition to the Reigns family, so we're really excited to bring it to new players. We hope you enjoy it.
Hi, Kate. Welcome to our wonderful show.
Hi, Lauren. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you here as well. Big Blue Sky Games, the fact that you all have announced this new brand spanking new title, Merchants of Roseall, which looks adorable. It has everything that I want coming out of Baldur's Gate 3, where it's just like, I want cozy, I want Renaissance, I want to own a shop. It just looks like just so cozy and lovely. How did you come to decide on this setting for the game?
Yeah, when we started to think about what we wanted to make, we really thought about games that we liked that have crafting and customization as sort of the central pillars. Things like Animal Crossing or Heyday, other games you might have played in the genre. And we really started to think about the stuff we hadn't seen, specifically with that sort of high fantasy aspect that you mentioned. And one of the things that we really wanted to do with high fantasy was something a little bit different, right? When you think of elves and dwarves, you think of, dungeons and swords and sorcery. And we sort of thought, well, what happens when the fighting is done? What does the culture of elves look like? What was going on in Hobbiton before the ring? So we really wanted to lean into that, like, what is the culture of this after the conflict?
Yeah. No, I love that. And like, I mean, yeah, it is that thing of like the day-to-day type of things. I just, there's so many games where I love the shopkeepers in as well. Like so many types of these games where I'm just like, oh, they're so sweet and they're so lovely.
I want
There's
them
a
to be my
specific
friend.
one.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I just want to live your life. Outside of like the looming dread and, everything kind of exploding around me and having no control. But let's make, fun drinks and pies and all that type of stuff. And there's so many like amazing types of like food and drink. I mean, I'm guessing like the trailer is basically like scratching the surface, but like, how many options would you say roughly like there are, and sort of what are your favorite ones?
Oh gosh, we have a ton of things that you can craft. I was actually telling the team the other day about an item that I misread the name of. I thought it was called Could Be Gone soup. Like it was just so delicious that you just want to like gobble it up and eat it. It could be gone like that. It's actually Cold Be Gone soup. So for when you're feeling under the weather.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But we have tons and tons of items, over 1,000, and
wow.
we're so excited to show everyone all of the things that you can make.
And like I think as well in the trailer it sort of said about how you unlock different wares with like your companions that come on board. Like how do they sort of play within the game's narrative?
Yeah, so the story we wanted to tell is sort of one of this merchant who's finally made a name for themselves, and they're coming to Roseall to meet and employ a lot of these professional artisans. So you've got chefs and tailors and masons, all of these like wonderful people who you can see and interact with. And they all have their own unique story to tell. So you'll interact with your companions and they'll level up and they'll be able to tell you their story. And whether that's, someone who used to have a really hard labor life, right? Like they worked in a job in the coal mines where they had to kind of break their back to work, but now they get to work on a thing that they really love and enjoy. Or it's a person who has a hard time asking for accommodation because they are physically disabled and they need help to be able to complete their job. There are a ton of different stories that the companions will all tell that you'll be able to see in the game. And we hope that people are able to either see themselves in their companions or maybe challenge some preconceived notions they have about people in the world.
No, that's really lovely. And it's like you've brought a lot of the team's love into it as well. Like I love looking on the Big Blue Sky Games' website and like seeing all the team and all of these like lovely posts from each of your members that are helping to build this game. Like it just feels like a really lovely place to work, lovely place to be. So like what are some of your favorite things about working with the studio?
I think the thing for me is that we are a fully remote studio. So we don't have an office. And I think the thing about that for me, we were just talking sort of at the top here about how my husband and I just moved to Canada to be closer to family. And we wouldn't have been able to do that if we didn't work in a fully remote environment. And the other thing that's really great about that is we're able to cast a much wider net when we're looking for talent and people to join our team. It means that we've got folks in every time zone across North America. We have folks in Canada, folks in the US, and we're not limited to just people who can afford to uproot their family and move across the country. Or we're not just limited to folks who can physically go be in an office. And I think it's really just afforded us just a wealth of really interesting perspectives that we wouldn't necessarily have if we had everyone has to come to this one location. And it's been really great for myself. I am a mom in the industry, so the fact that we're able to be fully remote just means that I get to spend more time with my kids.
Oh, yeah, no, it's so true. I mean, like, remote work has been such a game changer.
Totally.
As a mom. How many kids do you have?
2.
Oh, snuggles. Me too.
They're great. They're the best.
Yeah, they're so much fun. But no, that's lovely. And like, yeah, and more rightly, the fact that like you're enriching not only your studio culture with people from all over, as well, like with the stories, like bringing those people into the stories as well with the game. That's just like, it really seems like we're going to have a really, really great diverse space there in Merchants of Roseall.
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
Oh. And then in terms of the merchant as well, like there's this big customization and it seems quite endless. Can you tell us a bit about like some of the other customizations that you can get? How granular can you get with the customization?
Yeah, so players can create their own sort of player avatar, and you can customize just about everything about yourself. So hairstyle, hair color, eye color, nose and mouth shape. You can pick your own name, choose your pronouns, just endless possibilities, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then like in terms of like the different like races, like I always kind of gravitate towards Lalafels, like in Final Fantasy 14, or like some people have their Makote. Yeah, like what kind of different race types do you have in there?
Yeah, so there are 5 races total. Some that you might recognize, like dwarves and orcs. And some you might not. We have a race called Cork Gnomes, which I think for you would be kind of like your Lalafell, a little bit different. They've got ears and a tail, but they're very small. And we tried to do something a little different with the high fantasy races. You know, orcs, traditionally you think of as this very like brutish, aggressive race, and our orcs are highly educated seafarers.
I love it.
When you think of elves, you think of long flowing hair. Our elves are bald. So we tried to put a little bit of a spin on high fantasy, you know, subvert those tropes a little bit. But we're excited for people to see it.
Oh yeah, it just looks so great. And in terms of like the build of the game as well, the sense of like coziness, what do you feel like, in your opinion, is kind of the most important component of like a truly cozy game? Like, what do you think is like the thing that makes a game like this really, really like touch that sort of really nice warmth bit?
Yeah, I think cozy is I don't want to say interesting term, like that doesn't feel right, but I can't think of anything else. So cozy is interesting, right? I feel like when people say cozy, they think of like cute and fluffy and we really wanted to lean into a game that you could pick up and put down. Something that's not going to punish you for not logging in every single day to collect your points or whatever, right? Something that if my kid climbs up in my lap while I'm in the middle of playing, I'm not going to, fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
So just really something that is, light touch, low friction, easy to pick up and put down, where a player isn't punished for not like min-maxing, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting actually, because like for me, cozy is like a synonymous with something that you feel safe with, something that you feel comforted with. Like, I know people who have horror games that are their cozy games. That's just like
for sure,
game that you feel safe and happy with. But yeah, like I think that definitely feels that way, that sort of safe comfort game that just feels that just has that safety vibe. But I think that you're absolutely right. It is that type of game that you can just tune into every now and then go back to real life. But it's always there.
Yeah, definitely.
But no, that's really lovely. It's been so lovely to learn more about Merchants of Roseall. I just want to know, like, sort of where can we find more? Where can we find more information? Where would be best for us to tune in?
Yeah, you can visit us at merchantsofroseall.com. Follow us on your social media of choice, or you can join us on Discord. Merchants of Roseall is an online high fantasy shopkeeping simulator, and you can wishlist us on Steam right now.
The world hasn't always been peaceful. Our history makes us all the more appreciative of the little things. Cooperation, friendship, harmony, working together. That's when Roseall is at its best. Make pies, not war. Sourcing, crafting, and selling items can improve your shop and even the city itself. Just think, what splendid things will we create?
Hi everyone, Jemima here from Patch Magazine, the monthly indie gaming magazine. We're so pleased to have worked with Women-Led Games to produce our March issue. They've just given us an incredible window to all these wonderful women-led games. Also with this showcase itself, I want to just say a quick thank you for providing women with another platform within the gaming industry to be heard and seen and appreciated. I think with indie games in particular, the doorway for women being able to sort of access the gaming industry has opened up. And it's just incredible to see. We're so excited to be able to celebrate the fantastic creations led by women. So thank you very much for allowing us this segment in the showcase. To give a little bit of background about what Patch Magazine is, we're as I said, a monthly indie gaming magazine. We're produced in the UK but shipped worldwide. We're led by women, and we're basically creating a space for ourselves in the industry where we feel able to sort of express our love for gaming in a way that's accepted and safe. We always try and showcase as many of the incredible games led by women in the industry. So thank you Women-Led Games, and go check out Patch Magazine at www.patchmagazine.co.uk.
Tell everyone who you are, where you work, and all about the game that you're working on.
I'm Chantal Ryan. I am founder of the video game studio We Have Always Lived in the Forest. I am also lead designer and developer on Dark Web Streamer, and I am an anthropologist.
So do you want to tell me a little bit about your game?
So Dark Web Streamer is a game in which you play as an occult streamer on the dark web. Your job is to go onto the internet and find the weirdest, creepiest stuff you can find, bring it back to your stream, and try to impress your viewers enough to become the #1 ranked streamer on the internet. Unfortunately for you, the supernatural is real, so the more you engage with the darkness of the internet, the more it engages with you. So you'll find your apartment become progressively haunted by demons and spirits and other creepy things, but you may also have to grapple with superfans and stalkers and the other fun side of streaming online. It is a narrative roguelite, so it's actually fully procedurally generated. We have the world's first procedurally generated infinite internet. We have an endlessly replayable game, so every single time you boot it up, you will experience a new world, new characters, new stories, new events. The mechanics that you have access to will change. So it's a very large, sprawling, creepy game that, yeah, we're hoping people have a lot of unique stories to share with their friends with.
So it's basically a game that never ends, or you can never stop playing it. Like there's never like an end point where you'll be like, oh, I'm done with this game. I've seen everything there is to see.
I hope not. I mean, the end goal is at least 1 billion possible experiences, but also we do have Twitch integration, and we have a goal to be the most moddable game of all time. So we are really focused on giving people the tools to like collaborate with each other and create more experiences on their own, even outside of, the content that we give them.
Oh my God, I love Twitch integrated games. I don't know what it is. They're always so much fun to stream.
Well, we are dark web streamers, so we go as hard as we can into that, not just streaming, but this kind of like meta narratives. Or in the game, you can actually, when you connect your Twitch account to the game, it will pull your viewers into the game.
Oh my
and your
God.
viewers will be able to chat in the in-game stream chat, and will be able to influence all sorts of events. They can donate to you in real life to give you donations in the game, and
Oh my
all sorts of
God.
crazy things.
That sounds so cool. I mean, I feel like this will sort my chat out because they refer to themselves as a cult already. So I feel like this game's going to be perfect for them.
Fantastic. Yes, we are embracing the parish social cult life of streaming.
So there seems to be a lot going on in your game. Do you think it's going to just appeal to people who already like horror stuff, or do you think that people who maybe haven't given horror a go might find themselves really enjoying this?
I mean, I'm biased, but I do think that we do. I mean, I don't just think we've demoed at PAX a couple of times now and some other conventions around the place. And something that I consistently hear is we have horror fans come up who are like, I'm really excited to have a horror experience that's new. Something that isn't just kind of like the same style of game done up in a different skin. So, we definitely are very horror fan oriented. But the other major thing I hear is a lot of people come up and they say, I do not like horror games. I do not play horror games, but I'm just really interested in this game. I'm really interested in kind of, the narrative and story stuff you have going on. We are an RPG simulation game as well. So there are a lot of elements for people to engage with beyond horror. We also, having heard so much of that feedback where people are like, I would love to play this game, but I'm not so great at, handling horror. We made sure to go in and implement things like you can turn off jump scares. We have particular content filters, or, if particular things make you squeamish, you can actually filter those out. So, we're trying to allow everyone as much participation as we can.
I like the idea of a tailored horror experience. I think that there's a way to be scared in a good way, and there's a way to be, scared in a bad way. And I like the idea that you can pick which way you can be scared.
I absolutely agree. Something I talk about a lot is that I think horror is actually the most empathetic genre and medium. It is the genre that sits with you when you are afraid and you are alone and isolated. It holds your hand through the bumps in the night. It doesn't turn away and refuse to face things when they get too much. So I love the idea of that sort of comfort horror where, you know, it will sit with you, but if it is too much, it'll pull back, but it'll stay with you.
So what made you decide to focus on the dark side of streaming? I mean, and obviously I know there's stuff that is very paranormal, but you also said it focuses on some of the real life dark sides of being like someone on the internet. So what kind of made you decide to go down this route?
I mean, I guess I am a lifelong creative. I wasn't always in games. I didn't actually expect to be in games. You know, I thought I'd be in the Amazon rainforest doing my PhD right now, but life is a strange thing. I've always been a writer, and a horror writer in particular, and the thing that I continually engaged with in my writing was psychological horror and darkness. And, you know, part of what really interested me about horror is exploring the whys of the dark side of life. So, like, why do people do bad things? Or why are people this way? Why aren't they that way? And really, like, going deep into that. So I've always kind of followed this strain of, like, you know, why do people compromise their own safety out of a sense of politeness or seeking popularity or social credit? So, you know, you can go on YouTube and find a lot of videos of people who tried to take a selfie of themselves and backed off a cliff and died, things like that. And, you know, like, you can turn to streaming and see a lot of real world scary things, or, you know, really psychologically horrifying things. We've had murders live streamed. We've had, you know, domestic violence incidents. We see people go manic because they don't sleep for 48 hours, or we see people, you know, punishing their bodies by doing, I'll drink a shot every time you donate streams. So, you know, there's a lot of interesting dark psychology going on in streaming. I've been a streamer myself in the past. I've experienced some of these, you know, parasocial relationships, the way people can get overly attached or begin to think of you as someone you are not. And, you know, I could go on and on, but essentially streamer culture is wide and vast when it comes to engaging with the psychological darkness of humanity. And so as someone who is lifelong motivated to explore these strains, I thought, you know, damn, this would be a really interesting kind of subculture to explore academically and intellectually and creatively, but we can also make that exploration interactive. We can make it very literally a simulation, because streaming is so numbers motivated. So yeah, it was really a kind of hedonistic intellectual exploration that I said, hey, we can actually bring people along in this bizarre kind of deep dive into streamer culture.
I was thinking when you were saying about the real life dangers or dark side of streaming that it definitely came from someone who has been a streamer before. I feel like it's something you don't really fully understand sometimes until you're the streamer behind it, and then you start figuring out like, oh wait, hold on, this isn't funny, this is dangerous kind of situation. So I was wondering if you had ever streamed.
Absolutely.
I've been obsessed with roguelites that don't appear like traditional roguelites. Like Dave the Diver is a good example where it took me way too long to figure out that what I was playing was a roguelite. So I'm very excited to play this because they've been It's been something, I think David the Diver was my first like tiptoe in. And then I was like, hold on, these are actually really fun when they're not necessarily all like directly combat based roguelites. So I'm very excited to see a whole new version of this genre of game coming out in the moment.
Yeah, I feel the same way. World of Horror was a really big influence on the design of our game. I was really like overcome with this idea of this like game I could keep engaging with that was, you know, more narrative heavy versus just like, oh, all I really do is fight things nonstop until I die. I actually put a golden rule in the game from day one in terms of design, and I said no combat. So, you know, it was an interesting design constraint, and I was like, I want to make a game that no one has ever seen or played before. I don't want to do like a kind of rehash of something that's been done. And the fastest way to make sure that I made something radically different to anything else on the market was just like, nope, you cannot. You cannot just kill things through the game. I have broken that rule a little bit. We do have, you know, moments of physical altercation, as you kind of do when you're dealing with horror and constant threat of death, but, you know, it's far from a core mechanic of the game versus more of a story tool when it's relevant.
Do you have any advice for women who are looking to get into game development?
I mean, my advice is do the thing. I know, you know, it doesn't sound like helpful advice, but I did not think, I want to be a game designer. I want to make a game. I'm going to go and make a game, and I'm going to be a game designer. I was just like, I have an idea for a game that would be really great and really cool. And just like any other piece of art I engage with as a creative, I want to make this real, and I'm going to figure out how we make this art piece real. I'm going to learn it step by step along the way. And so, you know, when I say just do it, what I mean is figure out what the first step looks like and simply do it. Don't think, oh, I need to learn everything before I attempt to break in. Don't think, oh, I've got to like get hired by a studio in order to begin participating in making games. There are things like Twine Twine is a great website that allows you to kind of make these little narrative games that do allow you to have some core mechanics added in, but there are also sites like itch.io where you can join game jams, which is something that I really recommend to everyone who's very interested in making games, and also to people who would love to make games with people but don't have someone in their lives they can make games with. You'll find if you sign up for a game jam or you join the server, there are a lot of people looking for others. So, you know, figure out what is my core skill? What can I offer? And please don't say ideas, because you need to bring more than an idea. Ideas are really cool, but, you know, you can't have everyone else do the hard bringing it to life work. But yeah, figure out, you know, am I good at art? Am I good at music? Can I write really well? Can I figure out how to code? Can I bring some unique skill that would work really well in the game? Yeah, just do that. Show up. Like, make the thing happen. I would love if people would check out Dark Web Streamer. We are available on Steam. You can and should go wishlist us now. We have a Patreon if you think this sounds really cool and you want to support our development and get some cool packs, like potentially immortalizing your own online username in our game. And I would recommend checking out our website because it's pretty batshit and has some fun secrets on there. And also, we do have the rabbit hole right now. So we do run strange live games and projects during our development. And if you like puzzles and going insane in real time online, potentially with friends, you can come check out our Discord, which is linked on our Steam and our Twitter and everywhere else you can find us. And yeah, come join our ritual, join our community. We're super active and we love to see you.
Woo!
The dark web. You will stream. You will watch. You will follow. Sacrifice yourself. What is inside you? Cry. Bleed. Stream. 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 Stream your death.
We're so excited to have you on because we're talking about Critter Crops, which is like, it just looks like the most adorable little game. It just, it's for all us cozy witch enthusiasts out there. But am I correct in saying that like this was a college project to start with? And if so, like what was the original project and how was that idea expanded into what Critter Crops is now?
So yes, it was a college project. It was my final project for my bachelor's, actually. And the original assignment was basically to choose anything under the sun that required code. And we just had to kind of do like a whole agile structure, project management, coding whole thing. And I always wanted to make a game, so I figured, why not? This is my chance. And I started with this. It was a lot smaller back then. But yeah.
But that's like, so I think that that's like one of the fun things about these kinds of projects and like also on the side of it, if you're not in education, like game jams, it's like that thing of just being able to test things out and see what happens. And obviously this is something that really like stuck with you.
Yeah, it did. It was a pretty bizarre story how it ended up becoming a thing after. But yeah, it was pretty dynamic. It changed my life, even just starting the college project itself. So yeah.
And you know, when was that point where you decided like, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to continue this idea, and we're just going to push it further?
So that was at the end of the project. I was pretty proud of what I had done. My professor was like, hey, this is super awesome. You did great. And I decided I was going to share it on like Facebook and Reddit. And it was pretty much Facebook and Reddit that decided I was going to make the game, not me. Everyone was like, wow, this is adorable. Is this like a thing? And so people continued to ask about it, like, are you doing this? And so it went from college project to whole project with a publisher and everything in the span of like 4 months.
Dang. But yeah, I mean, hell, that's such a good testing jumping off point, isn't it? To like think, okay, if Reddit wants it, then obviously we're on to something.
Yeah. And actually, my friend Charmaine, she actually was a driving force of that as well. She's like, see, people love it. Keep going.
Oh, I know. She's such a supportive person. And yeah, she's doing the social media side for Critter Crops, isn't she?
Yes.
That's so cool. And, all of the animation in this game is all hand drawn, which is absolutely incredible. It's like this new type of, it's new, but it's like, it's not new. It's new in the sense that in like the last, I would say like 10 years or so, it's become like a really big trend in the industry to have this kind of like hand drawn experience. But I mean, to be able to do it like as sort of this, small team of people, it's just it's paid off significantly. But was there any like influence in particular that encouraged you to go with this hand-drawn style for the game? And like, how did you sort of make it efficient enough to where you could handle it under the like sort of constraints that you had?
The style of the game went through 1,000 iterations before we landed where we are. And I've shared publicly kind of where the game started. And I'm a huge anime fan. I've loved anime like Disney forever. So I have a huge love for the very archaic art of like frame by frame animation. So I really wanted to stick to that. I'll be honest, I started doing all the animations myself. I'm not an animator by any means. It looks a lot nicer now than when I started, because now we have an animator that works on the project and they're amazing. But yeah, so the style was so much more complex. And actually, I say all the time that Sylvie is... our main character, she's very simple. Our character designs are very geometric. And I always thought that people were going to hate that, but a lot of people really love the simplicity, but the uniqueness of the character designs. So I think it worked out really well. We have like a lot of nice pieces of every character that are easily animated to look really flowy and beautiful, but not too complex where it's like you're looking at everything moving at once. So and I think as far as efficiency goes, like originally I had planned to animate this whole game myself, which now, like in retrospect, coming to the end, was not even feasible. I can't even believe that I thought that was a possibility. I would have been making this game for like a decade if I did it by myself. So I'm very thankful. Our animator's amazing. They've worked on some really cool things like Lackadaisy and whatnot. So super experienced, really amazing people on the team. That's really my recipe for success in that particular area.
Yeah. Oh, completely. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like getting that help, getting experts sort of in their field to help you. I think it's like, I feel like when it's your own creation, you do tend to want to pull up your bootstraps and think like, I can do it all myself. Like I can get it done. I'll save money. It'll be fine. I can have control and like that type of thing. But yeah, like it is kind of like that sort of realization that it is more cost effective and more like, sane, like I want to say sane, but it's that thing of like that emotional check-in, that mental health check-in, that like, this is going to take so much pressure off of me so that I can be the best at what I'm the best at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been lucky enough that everyone that is on my team, they share in the huge passion that I have for the project. They almost match me in that regard. They all love the game. They have been super dedicated. And I think that's rare to find so many like people that love something that as much as you do that they didn't create. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. And actually that brings me on nicely to like when you were starting to make the game as well, because you've said before that you were very passionate about making a game that you would like, this was the game that you would like. And I think there's been a real theme in the games industry of diversity and having diverse talent create games and be in the room when developing games. And obviously you've said as well, like, I mean, you have quite a diverse team helping you as well on the game who all believe in the game as well. And I just found that really compelling that, this is a game that you made with your own intentions, with your own sort of beliefs in it, and everybody can really see that belief as well. I wondered if you had any advice for other diverse game devs who would like to do that same type of feat.
Yeah, I think the biggest advice that I share with everyone who's considering making games or starting to think of a new game idea, I think a lot of people in the games industry spend too much time thinking about what's popular, what's going to sell. And then we lose that passion element. And, you can make a game that you don't care about. You can do that. But gamers can tell at the end of the day when a game has love and passion behind it, and that's what sells. That's what people love. There are so many games on the market that prove that that is true. Indie games kind of take the cake in terms of, gamers saying, I felt this game. You rarely find that in AAA. And so I tell people, stop thinking about what people want to buy. Stop thinking about that.
Yeah.
Think about, what do you want to buy? What do you want to play? What message do you want to convey? Think about you yourself, because people will believe the message if it comes from you as a person.
I really do love the cross between cozy and RPG elements. When did you sort of come to that decision to think like, okay, I'm not going to make just a like sort of a crop growing game. I'm going to add these like RPG elements to it.
So our studio, Skyreach, our mantra is the dream of gaming. And so we believe that video games are meant to transcend expectation. So for me, I've played every farming game under the sun. If it exists, I have played it. And they're all great. I will never talk trash on them. I've played them probably way too much. And so like I said, I wanted to make the game that I wanted to play. And so I love farming games, but I do love other games. One of my oldest loves in video games is Monster Rancher. Nobody liked those games. Nobody liked the show, but I did. And so I wanted to create a version of that had the cute that I love, the farming that I love, and the monsters and goofiness that I love. And so once we got to a point where we're like, okay, this game is actually going to become a thing, we had to start thinking about what is the point of this game. Like, originally it had no purpose. The game was just farm some things, and that was the whole assignment. And so once we started to think about what do we want to convey with this title? Like, what's the purpose of the Critter Crops? And so we thought about Pokemon. Everybody loves Pokemon. But I always felt like Pokemon felt more like a thing that just kind of is there. Like, they're a creature, but you just kind of like use them and then like move on, which sounds horrible.
It's true though. It's so true.
And so
they're essentially, just a weapon.
So I wanted to give our creatures more meaning. I wanted them to be more like a pet. I wanted them to be a friend that goes on an adventure with you. And I said, okay, well, if we're going to go on an adventure, we're going to go on an adventure. And so that's where we landed with we have our Critter Crops, we have the farming, but this is not a farming game. It's more so an adventure game that utilizes farming. And I think that's unique. I think that's a special thing that a lot of farming game lovers have been looking for. I want to do farming, I want to do cozy, but I still want to go on an adventure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, of course. I think like that's But I think you see that a lot with those types of games. People pushing it forward, particularly like content creators who are trying to like push that forward. So to have that all in one game is terrific. And oh my gosh, the critters are so cute. They're so cute. And I know that it was one of your pledge rewards, wasn't it? The plushies. What was it like to have them like come together? They look amazing.
Thank you. People are gonna think I'm selfish. I made plushies because I wanted one.
Yeah.
Our original Pump Kitty that was part of our first Kickstarter campaign, I was like, I want to make this, I want one. And then once we got into making the Kickstarter, everybody was like, oh my gosh, this has to be part of the campaign. So I was like, okay, there we go. We're going to have Pump Kitty plushies going out to the world, which is incredible. It was incredible. Like to first see those go out to people and get pictures of people around the world with those things was amazing. And then came the post campaign where people were like, okay, wait. But like Pump Kitty's cool, but when are we going to get like Batberry plushies? And so it very quickly went down this avalanche of like, oh my gosh, we have to make all of the critters as plushies. Like people want them.
Yeah, every single one.
And so that's how, we landed with the other Kickstarter that went very well. And actually, if you look behind me, my office looks insane because we're actually in the middle of shipping out a whole lot of plushies. So
oh my God.
It's a special thing.
It's such an ordeal.
It's a special thing.
Such an ordeal.
To see something from a game that hasn't even gone out into the world and so many people already want a piece of it. So it's very special.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. And they're so high. They look so high quality as well.
Thank you.
Like they look really incredible. Do you have a favorite critter?
It's just people ask this all the time.
Or is it like choosing children?
I say it's like choosing children, but I do have a favorite. If for those the people in our Discord, they all know what my favorite is. It's a very unconventional favorite, and I'll probably stay that way forever. It's called Ruger Beta. It's a Rutabaga Rougarou combination, and he just has such a goofy face, and I love it. It's one of my favorite designs. I can't imagine it like in real life because I would just like hug.
Yeah. Oh, but I think that like I have a very big soft spot for alpacas, like alpaca dorky faces. Like I love that. So I can totally understand having the love for the goof.
Yeah. The weirdo in the group is always the best.
They are. They make life so much more interesting and fun. But yeah, so where can we find more information on Critter Crops?
So there's a few different places. Of course, we have our Steam shop, and then we also have our website, which tells you a lot of stuff if you want to learn about the team, if you want to buy some plushies. And it also has links to our Discord where we hang out and have a good time. So highly recommend checking out our Steam page and wish listing there because that's super helpful.